Imagine a world where powerful men ruled vast empires, their decisions shaping the lives of millions. Now, imagine one woman, born a simple slave, who secretly controlled those very men, shaping history with her whispers from the shadows. From the hidden halls of the royal harem, she rose to become the true power behind 5 different sultans, a feat unmatched by any other woman in history. Her journey was one of ambition, incredible survival, and heartbreaking betrayal, ending in a death as dramatic and violent as her life had been. How did a captured Greek girl, ripped from her home, manage to seize such immense power in the very heart of the mighty Ottoman Empire? This is the unbelievable true story of Kösem Sultan, a woman who defied every expectation and carved her name into the very fabric of history itself. Before we dive deeper into this incredible tale of power and intrigue, take a moment to think. If you lived in such a dangerous palace where a wrong move could cost you everything, even your life, what secret would you try hardest to keep hidden from everyone? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. And if you have a hunger for uncovering history's most dramatic secrets and shocking true stories, hit that subscribe button and like this video to join our journey of discovery. Our story begins in the early 1600s, a pivotal time when the Ottoman Empire was at its absolute peak of power and influence. This enormous empire stretched across 3 vast continents: Europe, Asia, and Africa. Its reach was truly incredible, touching many different cultures, religions, and peoples, uniting them under its vast banner. The very heart of this immense power and grandeur was Istanbul, a grand and bustling city unlike any other. It was a place of stunning beauty, filled with magnificent mosques that touched the sky, busy markets overflowing with exotic goods, and intricate palaces that spoke of immense wealth. From Istanbul, the sultans ruled with absolute power, their every word becoming law for millions of subjects across their vast domain. The main seat of this power, the very nerve center of the empire, was the Topkapi Palace. This was not just a building, it was a sprawling complex of courtyards, beautiful gardens, and lavishly decorated rooms. It symbolized the incredible wealth, the vast military might, and the cultural influence of the Ottoman Empire, drawing visitors and ambassadors from all over the known world. However, beneath this glittering surface of gold and silk, a hidden struggle for power was always happening, a constant, silent war for control. The palace, despite its outward luxury and captivating beauty, was also a place of great danger and continuous political maneuvering. Every single decision, every alliance made, every favor granted could mean the difference between immense power and a swift, silent death. Within the palace's strong, ancient walls lay a highly sacred and incredibly secretive space known as the harem. This was not just a living area. It was a world unto itself, completely cut off from the outside world. Here, the sultan's many wives, concubines, female relatives, and their countless servants lived, forming a complex and intricate society with its own strict rules and hidden hierarchies. Life in the harem was strictly organized and governed by ancient, unbending rules. It was a place of immense beauty, filled with rich carpets, shimmering silk hangings, and fragrant gardens that bloomed year-round. But it was also, for many, a gilded cage, where women lived out their entire lives, many never seeing the world beyond its high, imposing walls. Our hero was not born into this opulent world of power and privilege. She began her life as Anastasia, a young Greek girl from the small, sun-drenched island of Tinos in the Aegean Sea. Her childhood was likely simple, filled with the warmth of the Mediterranean sun and the familiar, comforting rhythms of traditional village life. She had no idea her world was about to change forever. But her peaceful world was shattered in a terrifying instant when she was captured by ruthless Ottoman slave traders. Like countless other young people during that turbulent time, she was brutally torn from her home, her family, and everything she had ever known. Her journey was long, terrifying, and filled with uncertainty, ending in the bustling, foreign, and overwhelming city of Istanbul. There, she was sold into the Sultan's harem as a slave, her ultimate destination. Her old life, her identity as Anastasia, was suddenly and irrevocably gone, taken from her forever. She entered the harem as a young, frightened girl, unsure of what her terrifying new future would hold within those imposing walls. Once inside the harem, Anastasia was given a new name, a common practice for all new concubines entering the Sultan's service. She was called Kösem, a name that would soon become famous and deeply feared throughout the entire empire. The name Kösem had a strong and incredibly symbolic meaning. It meant leader of the flock or pathfinder, a title often given to a strong-willed ewe who guided other sheep through difficult terrains. This name, given by a watchful eunuch who perhaps saw something exceptionally special, something truly unique in the young girl, would prove to be surprisingly fitting for her extraordinary future. At first glance, Kösem was undeniably beautiful, with striking features that immediately caught the eye. Her dark, intelligent eyes and graceful demeanor made her stand out among the many beautiful women of the harem. But her true power lay not just in her outward looks, though they were formidable. It was hidden deep within her sharp, calculating mind, her innate cleverness, and her remarkable ability to observe and understand the intricate world around her. Life in the harem was a constant, unspoken test, a daily struggle for survival and favor. Girls were trained in many sophisticated arts: music, elegant dance, poetry, and polite conversation. They learned the strict rules of court etiquette and how to carry themselves with grace. But only a very few ever managed to truly catch the Sultan's eye, and more importantly, hold his attention for long. The competition among the concubines was incredibly fierce, and many girls spent their entire lives within the harem walls, growing old without ever truly finding favor or influence. Kösem, however, was different. Her deep intelligence, her calm and collected demeanor, and her subtle charm made her stand out from the crowd, and soon she attracted the attention of the young Sultan Ahmed Furs. Sultan Ahmed Furs was immediately drawn to Kösem. He saw her exceptional beauty, of course, which was undeniable, but he also found something much more profound in her. He discovered a quick wit, a keen mind, and a calm, deep wisdom in the young woman. She was unlike many other women in the harem, who often sought attention through theatrics or emotional displays. Kösem was not loud or demanding. Instead, she was observant and thoughtful, listening more than she spoke. These were qualities that Ahmed deeply valued, especially in the chaotic and often superficial world of the palace. Their connection grew quickly, becoming much more than a simple, fleeting attraction. She quickly became more than just a concubine to the Sultan. She was his confidant, the person he trusted most with his innermost thoughts and deepest concerns. She spent countless hours listening to him, allowing him to share the immense burdens of ruling a vast and complex empire. During these private and intimate conversations, Kösem absorbed everything like a sponge. She learned about the empire's complex problems, the immense challenges of ruling, and the many different factions and rivalries within the court. She carefully watched the politics of the palace, taking everything in, storing it away for future use. She understood that true and lasting influence came not just from being loved or from being the prettiest face, but from being respected, and, most importantly, from being absolutely needed. She learned how power truly worked within the Ottoman court, seeing through the elaborate ceremonies and grand displays to the real decisions being made in the shadows. Kösem became an indispensable part of Sultan Ahmed's life. He began to rely on her judgment, often seeking her advice on matters of state, big and small. She would whisper wise counsel, carefully chosen words of guidance, and these whispers often turned into imperial policy, subtly shaping the direction of the entire empire. As Kösem's influence grew, so did her family, which was crucial for her future. She gave birth to several children with Sultan Ahmed, solidifying her position as a central figure in his life and in the court. Among these children were 4 healthy sons, a fact that was incredibly important for her future status and her rising power. Each son was a crucial step up in her own standing within the intricate hierarchy of the harem and the wider court. They tied her directly to the future of the empire, making her an unshakable figure. She was not just a favorite. She was the mother of future sultans, building her own foundation of power and security within the dangerous palace walls. The birth of her sons, especially her male heirs, elevated her title to Kösem Sultan, a rank reserved for the most favored and influential consorts. This gave her even greater power, more wealth, and a dedicated retinue of servants who attended to her every need. Her chambers became more lavish, reflecting her increasingly rising status and importance. She began to exert her influence through widespread charitable works, building magnificent mosques, establishing important schools, and constructing public fountains for the people. These acts of generosity made her popular with the common people, further strengthening her already formidable position. She was careful to balance her political influence with public goodwill, a true master of perception. But life in the Ottoman palace was always uncertain, a fragile balance of power and shifting alliances. When Sultan Ahmed I died suddenly in 1617, at the incredibly young age of 27, the world shifted violently and dangerously for Kösem. Her beloved husband, her protector, the source of her direct power, was suddenly gone, leaving her exposed. His death plunged her and her young sons into terrible danger. The rules of succession were brutal and unforgiving, designed to prevent any challenges to the new sultan's rule. The Ottoman Empire had a cruel tradition that haunted every royal mother and every prince. Traditionally, when a new sultan came to power, he would order the execution of all his brothers and half-brothers. This barbaric practice, known as fratricide, was meant to prevent civil wars, ensure stability, and secure the new sultan's rule by eliminating any potential rivals to his throne. Kösem knew her sons could be next in line for this horrifying fate. Fear must have gripped her heart with an icy, unbearable hand. Her young sons, still just boys, were now living under a potential death sentence, vulnerable to the whims of the new ruler. The palace, once her sanctuary, her place of love and immense influence, now felt like a dangerous cage, filled with lurking shadows and unseen threats. Every rustle of silk, every hushed whisper in the corridors could signify the approach of guards, coming to carry out the dreaded tradition. She had to find a way, any way, to protect them, to keep them safe from the horrifying fate that awaited so many royal princes throughout history. Her clever mind began to work furiously, seeking a solution where none seemed to exist. But then, an unexpected and unprecedented turn of events changed everything, altering the course of the empire and saving Kösem's children. Instead of one of Ahmed's young sons taking the throne, his mentally unstable brother, Mustafa III, took power. This was a radical deviation from the traditional patrilineal succession of father to son. This new way of succession, moving from father to son to older brother, was a truly radical change in Ottoman custom. It saved Kösem's children from immediate danger, giving them a precious reprieve from the executioner's blade. It was a moment of profound relief for Kösem, a temporary but crucial shield against the brutal traditions of the past. Mustafa I was widely known to be mentally unwell. He suffered from severe psychological issues, likely made much worse by years of isolation and constant fear of execution within the palace. His rule quickly plunged the empire into deep chaos. He made strange, nonsensical decisions and was often confused, unable to handle the affairs of state. His erratic and unpredictable behavior proved him completely unfit to lead a vast and complex empire. The powerful figures in the palace, including the Grand Vizier and the ulema, the respected religious scholars, soon realized that he could not stay on the throne. The empire desperately needed a strong, stable hand to guide it. His brief reign, though chaotic for the empire, was a blessing in disguise for Kösem. It gave her sons a chance to grow older, to be out of immediate anger from a new, ruthless sultan. Kösem, ever watchful and cunning, saw this period of instability as a golden opportunity, a chance to strengthen her position. Even amidst the empire's instability and madness, she began to plan her next moves meticulously, understanding that every crisis could be turned into a chance for greater influence and power. She meticulously observed the shifting alliances and identified the weaknesses within the court, ready to exploit them. Mustafa I was deposed after only 3 months, removed from the throne because of his clear inability to rule. He was replaced briefly by Osman II, another young sultan. Then, in a truly bizarre turn of events, Mustafa was put back on the throne again, only to be deposed a second time. This period of confusion and rapid changes in leadership showed everyone the deep weakness and danger of the current succession system. The empire desperately needed a strong, steady, and wise hand to guide it through these incredibly turbulent times. And Kösem knew exactly whose hand it should be, her own through her sons. She worked tirelessly and discreetly behind the scenes, forging crucial alliances and subtly swaying opinions among the powerful factions. Her ultimate goal was clear: to place one of her own sons on the throne, thereby securing her own future and that of her children. She believed she could guide them, and through them, bring much-needed stability back to the empire. Finally, after much political maneuvering and intense lobbying, Kösem's own son, Murad IV, was placed on the Ottoman throne in 1623. He was only 11 years old, far too young to rule an entire, vast empire on his own. This moment marked a dramatic turning point, not just for Kösem, but for Ottoman history itself. ushering in an unprecedented era. As Murad's mother, Kösem stepped forward to become the Valide Sultan, the respected Queen Mother. This was an incredibly powerful and revered title, but she did not stop there. She was also named official regent, meaning she would openly rule the entire empire in her young son's name, wielding true authority. This was a position of unbelievable, unprecedented power for a woman in the Ottoman Empire. For the first time in Ottoman history, a woman openly held such direct and extensive political authority. Her word was not just influential, it was law, carrying the full weight of the Sultan's power and commanding absolute obedience. Her rule as regent was comprehensive and absolute. She attended council meetings, known as the Divan, a privilege rarely, if ever, granted to women before her. She made crucial decisions about the military, the vast economy of the empire, and its complex foreign policy. The entire world now listened to Kösem Sultan, knowing she held the true reins of power. She signed official documents with the Sultan's seal, sent letters to other powerful rulers across Europe and Asia, and managed the vast state treasury with incredible skill. Her lavish apartments within the harem, once a private and secluded space, became the true beating heart of political power in the Ottoman Empire. High-ranking officials, foreign ambassadors, and powerful military leaders came to her seeking her wisdom, her approval, and her crucial guidance on matters of state. She was, without doubt, the empire's true guiding force, steering the ship of state through choppy and dangerous waters with a steady hand. Kösem was careful and incredibly skilled in her governance. She ruled with sharp intelligence and diplomatic prowess, proving herself a remarkably capable and effective leader in every way. She oversaw a period of relative stability during a deeply difficult and challenging time for the empire, earning widespread respect. Her actions showed everyone, even those who initially doubted a woman's capacity to rule, that she could indeed guide the great Ottoman Empire with immense strength and profound wisdom. Her influence was vast, undeniably effective, and deeply respected throughout the realm, silencing her critics. She initiated many important public works projects, built magnificent mosques, and established numerous charitable foundations that helped the poor and the sick. These acts helped secure her immense popularity among the common people, who saw her as a benevolent and effective ruler. She masterfully balanced ruthless politics with genuine care for her subjects' welfare. However, absolute power can dramatically change a person, and it certainly changed her son, Murad. As he grew older, transforming from a boy into a fierce young man, he began to deeply resent his mother's immense control and power. He was no longer a young boy, but a sultan in his own right, eager to prove his own strength and absolute authority. Murad IV became known as a harsh and ruthless ruler, earning the chilling nickname Murad the Bloody from some of his subjects. He was fiercely determined to stamp out corruption, which was rampant in the empire, and to reassert the Sultan's absolute power without any challenge. This often meant clashing directly and violently with his powerful mother, Kösem. Kösem had grown accustomed to being in charge, to making the final and most important decisions. Murad, however, saw his mother not as a wise guide or a benevolent protector, but as a formidable rival, someone who stood directly between him and his own legitimate authority as the reigning sultan. The palace, once a place of shared rule, became a tense battleground between mother and son. Their bond, once so strong and based on shared purpose and mutual trust, began to fray under the immense weight of power and conflicting ambition. The deep love between them was tested, stretched thin by conflicting desires for ultimate control over the vast and complex empire, leading to a bitter power struggle. Kösem faced an agonizing choice, a dilemma that tore at her heart and mind. Should she stubbornly hold on to her power, the power she had so skillfully built to protect her children, and, as she saw it, the stability of the empire? Or should she step back, allowing her son to fully take control, even if it meant risking the empire's future stability, given his unpredictable and often violent nature? This was not just a political struggle, it was a deeply personal one, a struggle between her formidable political ambition and her profound motherly love for her own child. She tried to guide him, to temper his increasingly cruel and autocratic decisions, but Murad fiercely resisted her influence at every turn. Their relationship became deeply strained, filled with tension, mistrust, and unspoken resentments that simmered beneath the surface. Kösem learned, through bitter experience, that even as the all-powerful Queen Mother and Regent, her power had significant limits when it came to a determined autocratic sultan who saw her as nothing more than an obstacle. Murad IV's reign was marked by his harsh rule and significant military victories, particularly against the rival Safavid Empire. He was a formidable warrior and a strict disciplinarian, restoring a degree of order to the empire through fear. But his reign was also sadly cut short. He died young, in 1640, at the age of just 27, a tragic echo of his father's early death. The cause of his death was likely liver disease, brought on by heavy drinking, a destructive habit he had developed despite his strict public persona and his attempts to curb alcohol consumption for his subjects. Once again, the empire faced a sudden crisis of succession, a familiar and terrifying scenario for Kösem. With Murad gone, the only remaining male heir to the Ottoman throne was Kösem's youngest son, Ibrahim. But Ibrahim was profoundly different from his older brothers, both in temperament and experience. He had been kept locked away for most of his life, a common, cruel practice for royal princes, designed to prevent them from becoming rivals. This isolation was meant to prevent them from plotting against the reigning sultan, but it often had devastating psychological effects on the princes. Ibrahim had lived in what was chillingly called the cage, a luxurious but utterly solitary part of the palace, always fearing execution by his powerful and often brutal brother, Murad. This long and brutal isolation had taken a heavy toll on Ibrahim's mind. He was known to be mentally unstable, fragile, and prone to strange, often inappropriate behavior. He was deeply afraid, traumatized by his years in confinement and the constant, terrifying threat of imminent death hanging over him. Upon Murad's sudden death, Ibrahim was initially terrified to leave his chambers. He feared it was all a trick or a trap, designed to lure him out only to be executed, just like so many of his uncles and cousins before him. It took the combined persuasive efforts of Kösem and the Grand Vizier, the empire's chief minister, to finally convince him that he was truly the new sultan and that he was safe. The empire once again teetered on the brink of chaos, threatened by a weak and unstable ruler at its head. And once again, Kösem Sultan, with her unmatched experience and unwavering resolve, stepped forward to fill the void. She knew the empire needed her steady hand more than ever to prevent its complete collapse. With her unstable son on the throne, she became the silent power, the steady hand guiding a deeply troubled ruler from behind the scenes. She essentially saved the state from complete collapse during Ibrahim's tumultuous and unpredictable early years. Her presence, her wisdom, and her absolute authority were the only things holding things together. Ibrahim's reign was marked by his growing eccentricities and increasingly erratic behavior, which bordered on madness. He was easily influenced by various manipulative court factions and prone to making wild and dangerous decisions. He often neglected crucial state affairs, instead focusing on his own strange desires, bizarre indulgences, and excessive pleasures. He earned the chilling nickname Ibrahim the Mad due to his bizarre actions, which included flooding the harem in search of pearls and ordering his concubines to wear only sable furs, even in the heat of summer. Kösem worked tirelessly behind the scenes to contain the damage caused by his unstable rule, striving desperately to keep the empire functioning and prevent further disaster. She discreetly guided his decisions, dealt with rebellious factions within the powerful military known as the Janissaries and the court, and desperately tried to maintain order in a palace that was rapidly falling into disarray and chaos. Her vast experience, her sharp mind, and her profound political wisdom were the only things preventing the entire empire from unraveling completely under Ibrahim's destructive and increasingly mad rule. But Ibrahim's madness only worsened over time, spiraling out of control. His behavior became too extreme, his decisions too dangerous for the stability and future of the entire empire. He began to alienate everyone around him, including the powerful military leaders and the respected religious scholars, the pillars of Ottoman society. The state was truly in dire peril, on the verge of ruin. This brought Kösem to her most terrible and heartbreaking choice, a decision that would haunt her forever. To save the dynasty, to save the very Ottoman Empire she had worked so hard to protect and guide for decades, she had to act decisively and tragically against her own son. It was a choice that would break any mother's heart, a burden no parent should ever have to bear. With the crucial backing of the military and the religious leaders who recognized the immediate and existential threat Ibrahim posed to the empire, Kösem made the agonizing decision to depose him. He was removed from the throne, taken away from his lavish chambers, and imprisoned in the very cage he had spent his youth in. Tragically, he was executed shortly after, just 10 days later. It was a brutal act, a chilling example of the harsh and unforgiving realities of Ottoman power politics. But Kösem believed, deep in her heart, that it was absolutely necessary for the survival of the Ottoman state and the dynasty itself, a sacrifice for the greater good. This marked the end of Ibrahim's short and troubled reign, which had lasted only 8 tumultuous years. But it also brought a new era of uncertainty and potential danger. His 6-year-old son, Mehmed IV, now sat on the Ottoman throne, a mere child in a world of cutthroat politics and ruthless ambition, needing a regent once more. For the 3rd time in her extraordinary life, Kösem found herself in the powerful position of regent, ruling the vast empire for a child sultan. She was older now, her face etched with the experiences of a lifetime of power struggles, betrayals, and incredibly difficult choices. Her hair was lightly streaked with silver, her eyes still sharp and perceptive. She was more powerful than ever, a true matriarch of the empire, her authority deeply entrenched and widely recognized. She had proven her ability to navigate the stormiest political waters, to survive against all odds. However, Even for a woman who had so thoroughly mastered the dangerous Game of Thrones, new challenges always arose from unexpected quarters. A new threat, both unexpected and formidable, emerged from within the palace walls itself. This threat came in the form of Kösem Sultan, the young Sultan Mehmed IV's own mother. Turhan was ambitious, energetic, and fiercely determined to claim power for herself, to step out of Kösem's long shadow. Turhan, as the biological mother of the new young Sultan, also held a naturally powerful position within the hierarchy of the harem and the court. She was young, vibrant, and saw Kösem not as a wise mentor or an ally, but as a towering obstacle to her own ambition. She wanted Kösem's vast power, her influence, and her authority for herself and her son. The palace once again became a battleground, a place of intense rivalry. But this time, the stakes were even higher. The conflict was not between mother and son, but between two formidable women, each with her own claims to power and legitimacy. It was a clash of two generations of powerful female figures, each vying for ultimate control over the child sultan, and through him, the immense Ottoman Empire. Kösem, the experienced, cunning matriarch, a survivor of countless intrigues and betrayals, stood against Turhan, the ambitious younger mother, eager to carve out her own legacy and secure her own future. The struggle between Kösem and Turhan grew incredibly intense, dividing the palace into two opposing factions, each fiercely loyal to their chosen leader. Some supported the seasoned regent, Kösem, who had proven her leadership abilities for decades, guiding the empire through its darkest hours. Others backed the young queen mother, Turhan, who represented a new generation and the natural order of the reigning sultan's biological mother. Whispers, rumors, and elaborate plots filled the grand halls and secret passages of the Topkapi Palace, creating an atmosphere of palpable tension. The tension was palpable, like a storm gathering within the gilded walls, ready to break. Rumors began to spread that Kösem, despite her advanced age and many years of loyal service to the dynasty, was planning another drastic and shocking move, one that would cement her power forever. These rumors were likely planted by Turhan's supporters to discredit Kösem and turn loyalties against her. Some whispered that Kösem intended to depose her own grandson, Mehmed IV, and replace him with another, even younger, prince. This was an incredibly dangerous rumor, designed to turn loyalties and support away from Kösem and irrevocably towards Turhan, painting Kösem as a ruthless schemer. It was said that Kösem believed Mehmed IV was too easily influenced by Turhan, and that she wanted a more pliable sultan, one she could control absolutely even in his youth, without any resistance. This deeply unsettling rumor reached Turhan Sultan, fueling her fear, her anger, and her desperate determination to eliminate her powerful rival before it was too late. Turhan began to believe, truly believe, that her own life and the life of her son, the young Sultan, were in grave danger from the aging matriarch. She felt she had to act first, and decisively, to secure her position and protect her child from what she perceived as an existential threat from Kösem. On a dark and fateful August night in 1651, the final tragic act of Kösem Sultan's dramatic and turbulent life unfolded. Guards loyal to Turhan Sultan, acting on the direct command of the young queen mother, stormed Kösem's private chambers within the deepest, most sacred part of the harem, a place usually considered inviolable. The once impenetrable walls of her private rooms, which had for so long been the true center of power and intrigue, offered no protection against this brutal assault. The woman who had ruled an empire for decades, who had controlled 5 sultans, who had survived every political storm, met a brutal and shocking end. In the very palace she had so skillfully navigated and utterly dominated. Kösem Sultan, the most powerful woman in Ottoman history, was reportedly dragged from her hiding place, discovered in a desperate attempt to evade her attackers. Some accounts say she was found within a large cupboard, while others claim she was discovered under a pile of carpets, a tragic and futile attempt to escape her predetermined fate. She was then brutally strangled, some accounts say, with her own long curtain cords, in a final, agonizing struggle for her life. Other sources suggest she was murdered with strands of her own hair, a deeply symbolic and cruel end. Her incredible, turbulent life, filled with unparalleled power and influence, ended violently, shrouded in betrayal and blood, as a victim of the very game she had played so masterfully. Her death, at approximately 62 years old, marked the end of an era, not just for her, but for the entire empire. It was a dramatic close to what historians refer to as the Sultanate of Women, a period where powerful female figures like Kösem and her predecessors held immense sway and direct authority over the vast Ottoman Empire. Kösem's reign, though ending in tragedy and violence, left an undeniable and lasting mark on the Ottoman Empire, shaping its future in profound ways. She had directly influenced and controlled 5 sultans throughout her lifetime: her husband Ahmed I, her unstable brother-in-law Mustafa I, and her 3 sons and grandson, Murad IV, Ibrahim I, and Mehmed IV. Her influence stretched for decades, spanning nearly 40 years of active political involvement and unprecedented power. She guided the empire through some of its most turbulent times, periods of immense instability, internal rebellion, and external challenge. She made crucial decisions that shaped the very course of Ottoman history for generations to come. But what truly was her legacy? Was she a wise and dedicated leader, a brilliant stateswoman who saved an empire from ruin, making incredibly tough and often ruthless choices for the greater good and the survival of the state she loved? Or was she a cunning, power-hungry woman who would stop at nothing to maintain her absolute control, even if it meant sacrificing her own sons and grandson? Her extraordinary story blurs the lines between hero and villain, between selfless stateswoman and manipulative politician, making her a truly complex figure. Historians still debate her motives and actions today, sifting through ancient texts and palace intrigues, trying to unravel the true nature of this extraordinary, multifaceted woman who defied all conventions. She remains a figure of immense power, enduring mystery, and endless fascination, her story echoing through the centuries. Kösem Sultan's life was not just a personal story of a slave girl's rise. It was a decades-long battle for power that profoundly shaped an entire empire, impacting millions of lives and forever altering the very course of history. Her dramatic rise, from captured slave to empress and regent, her undeniable political genius, and her tragic, violent end continue to captivate audiences around the world. If her incredible journey shocked and amazed you, remember to subscribe to our channel right now and like this video to join us on more historical adventures and uncover more hidden truths. Tell us in the comments which other royal scandal or forgotten historical figure you want us to uncover next.